There we go. And we're back.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to enable the Ethernet connection. I was still on Wi-Fi, so switching over I always try to do that before we get on, but not today. I rushed it.
I hear you.
What's going on?
All good, man. Being productive, you know?
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I got to a point where like everything was just smashing together and I didn't want to do anything. I'm like, I got to make some changes here. So
Mm-hmm.
going with a new setup, new workflow. Hopefully it works. I've found this week I felt much more productive, and I'm being much more efficient in working through my to-do list on a daily basis. So I'm
Good.
happy with my progress. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, and it's always good just to shake things up every once in a while. Like it
Yeah.
gives you like that excitement of something new.
Agreed. Sometimes you need that, and sometimes all it takes for me is cleaning my office. Like sometimes my office gets so disorganized and messy. I like, you know what? I'm gonna take an hour and clean it. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like I can work better now all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's kind of like this weird mental thing. I also feel that same way about my car. That when I give it a good wash, I'm like, my car just drives better now.
Yeah.
You know. So
Yeah. I did that on Monday. I took like an hour and a half just to clean. Like I was
yeah.
just like it was such a crazy weekend and there was just stuff still all over the house. I'm like, screw it. I'm doing some vacuuming, I'm doing some cleaning, and believe it or not, it made me feel just generally super productive.
Yeah.
So by the time I started work around 10:30, quarter of 11, like I was all sorts of fired up.
That sometimes that's all it takes, and a lot of it is just shifting. Got my volume. Shifting mindset where you don't see it as a task or something you have to do. It's like something that you get to do. And I think a lot about that with doing the dishes. And there's a really
Mhm.
popular Zen saying about when you do the dishes, just do the dishes.
Mhm.
And it's like very meditative and rewarding. But when you look at it as like, I gotta like slog through this like list of chores I have to do, it tends to have the opposite effect. So
Mhm.
yeah. Anyway, that
Nice.
is that. I got a new toy sitting on the printer.
Oh, the drone.
Yeah, yeah. Super fun.
Nice.
So,
Any good shots with it yet?
I've taken a few. I don't know what I'm doing. And
Mhm.
it's overwhelming with all of the features and settings. So I've been watching a ton of YouTube videos, and I've been taking it out in the backyard and just doing a few sample flights. Took a couple shots of the kids and did like a thing of the house. But I'm still in very much in learning mode with it. The nice thing about this one is I finally have a drone that has the ability to have some autopilot to it. I've had 3 drones before this, and albeit like on the cheaper end.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest challenges with those drones that are cheaper is they don't have autopilot. And so while you're trying to take pictures, you also have to be flying the drone. And if there's any wind, if the blades aren't calibrated perfectly, it's a very manual physical activity to keep the drone hovering in one place so you can take a picture. So you're fiddling around with the controls trying to take a picture. I have crashed all 3 and broken all
Mhm.
3 because it's just
Nice.
like they were so hard to fly. This one, you push it to where you want it to go, take your hands off, and it's going to hold in position.
Sweet.
Yesterday I think the winds were 17 miles an hour. It made some loud noises because it really revved up the engines to keep it held in position, but held in position.
Nice.
And it knows where it came from. So
Mhm.
when it takes off, it sets a home point. You go fly around, then you push one button, say come back home. It
And
flies
it
back
comes
home
back.
and lands. Don't even
Oh,
have to
wow.
touch it. So
Nice.
yeah, it's super fun. So I'm hoping to get some good shots and some video once I really understand how it works. So
I'm going excuse me. I'm going to have to send you this Instagram account called Offshore Drones.
Mm,
Um, they these folks, they're the South Jersey Shore, so they often post things from like a couple of shore points we go to, like hovering over the boardwalk, hovering over the
mm.
shoreline. Like, I mean, they've got some really nice
That's
shots.
really cool. Yeah, I'm amazed at how creative people are with them and like the cinematic kind of views and feelings they're able to get from the shots. So hopefully, if I play around with it enough, I'll be able to create some cool content with it. So we'll see.
Fun stuff. New toys are
Fun
always
indeed.
fun.
New toys are fun. It's fun, but also overwhelming. And I don't know if you read through my tweet yesterday or Monday where I talked about like feeling overwhelmed at not being amazing at anything.
Hmm.
But that's what happened this weekend because I got this drone and I've been reading and watching lots of videos and I'm like, you have to spend hours and hours and hours to get really, really good at this. It's just so complex. It's like getting a new DSLR camera. It's like, yeah, you can take good pictures putting it in automatic mode. But like if you really want to dial it in and put it in manual mode and like tweak all the features, it takes a lot of work. So I had that going. And then in parallel, our mutual friend Randy reached out to me and said, "Hey, you next up for my next custom guitar. I want to build you a guitar."
Hmm.
And I'm like, "Oh, that would be amazing." I don't know how to. I don't know how to play the guitar. I know how to play the ukulele. I know how to play the bass. I play piano, but guitar is a whole new instrument. I'm like, can I take on yet another hobby that I'm going to be mediocre at? And so while it is fun, it's also like it gets me stressed out because it's like, if I own this, I should be good at it, right?
You want to be really good at
I
it.
want to be really good at it, and I'm not. and
Hmm.
and most people said, let go of that. Like it's okay as a hobby. It's not like you're going to go out and be a professional, videographer with your drone and get paid to do it. You're just doing it for fun. If you get
Hmm.
a guitar, you're going to, pluck on the guitar and have fun. You're not going to go play gigs and get paid to do it. So like just enjoy it for what it is. You don't have to be a professional at everything, and it's okay. So anyway,
I think that's solid advice.
yep, yep, yep. So anyway, what's new with you?
Nothing much at the moment. Just helping my parents move.
Mm,
Right now, settlement is like in 6 weeks. Their house sold. Everything was taken care of in 48 hours. It
crazy,
went
man.
up Friday morning. They had an offer Saturday morning. They accepted it and tweaked the final details of it Saturday night, and everything was done Sunday morning.
The real estate market is crazy right now.
Yeah. And
So
they got a nice bid over asking. The people
yeah,
came in over asking price. So now it's just the helping the two of them clean out the house that they
yeah.
raised the four of us in.
Is that hard?
I mean, they've been pretty good at like getting rid of stuff over the years, but
No, I
still, it's
mean hard, hard, hard emotionally.
no.
No.
Um, a lot of people have asked me like, "Oh, you could be sad when your parents sell the house and you move out." I'm like, "I'll probably be a little sad the last day there," but kind of where my parents are at in life at the moment, it's
Yeah.
too much house for them.
Mm,
Like they need one floor living. My
yeah.
Not to get too personal on this, but like my dad's been developing something since
Mm,
like December. It's almost like he had a stroke without the evidence of a stroke. It's
mm,
weird. Like my dad, up until last November, would walk 3 miles a day, 4 miles a day. He'd go out every morning, get up in the morning, have his cup of coffee, and go out for his 3 to 4 mile walk. Now he's barely get up steps,
mm.
and
That's hard.
it's really hard, and it's progressing pretty quickly, and like nobody knows what's going on. So like this house is quickly becoming too much for them, and
Mm,
they've maintained it phenomenally over the last couple of years. But the problem is if they didn't do something soon, the house will get away from them.
yeah. Yeah.
So that's my long way of saying, you know what? Yeah, it'll be a little sad the last time, like when we actually like lock up and we were all there for the last time. But in the end, it's what's best for them. They need it.
Yeah.
They need something that's easier to maintain. Like last summer, well, 2 summers ago, my brother and I split the time cutting the lawn. I cut it last summer. I'm going to do it now. Like I was just there yesterday morning cutting the lawn for them. And, it's like, the one neighbor came over and he was like, oh, only a couple more times doing this. And I'm like, you know what? I'm embracing it. Because I
Yeah.
used to do this as a kid.
Yeah.
When I turned
Yeah.
10, my dad's like, come on, I'm showing
Time
you
to
how to
mow
cut
the
the
lawn.
lawn.
Yeah.
You're, while I'm at work during your summer vacation, you're going to be cutting the lawn. So it's kind of like bringing back memories like that and getting really sentimental. I'm like, no, it's not a problem.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but one of my favorite smells in the entire world is fresh cut grass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cutting the lawn for me is like you were talking about washing the dishes. It's my chance to go out and put headphones on, zone out, and just be outside, moving around.
Yeah.
But also I can get lost in thought.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Well, glad that you have the ability to help out with that.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a couple more weeks coming up where I'm just going to pack up my laptop and head over there, and then just like my superpower is being able to be a pack mule. Just tell me where you need stuff moved to.
Isn't there a commercial where some guy's on his phone and his buddy has like a fridge strapped to his back or something?
Yeah, like I'm the one that's like, I am not that talented when it comes to home improvement, but if you need something ripped out, call me.
Yeah,
and I can help you rip something out.
That's good to have one of those friends in your circle.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just come over, and as you guys are boxing up stuff, I can then move the boxes. Yeah. So then we can get them all set up like in the front room, and then get everybody together, load up cars, and take them where they need to go.
How far away are they going?
So they're moving up near my brother and sister-in-law, a little over an hour away.
Oh, that's quite a big move.
Yeah, it's a new development. It's a brand new house. It's a 3-bedroom rancher. So all nice. 1-floor living. They're going to be up there, and then they're like 15 minutes away from my sister and brother-in-law. And I'll be honest with you, like I kind of see my wife and I moving out toward there in a couple of years. As like we're kind of working on some things. She's debating maybe taking a leave of absence from work. And if so, then we're not necessarily as tied to this area anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. I'm trying to figure out how you're going to segue this one.
Yeah, it got really, really heavy there for a minute.
Yeah.
But honestly, like we were talking about it. I actually did have a segue in mind, and I kind of lost it there. And you were talking about like Randy with the guitar. And I lost it, so I'm just going to jump right into it. I did have something. I'm like, oh, there it is. So we're recording this episode right in the middle of Adobe Summit 2021. Yep. This is the second year it's being held virtually due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yep.
And there is a lot of talk. Like I attended some of the sessions yesterday. I've got some. I haven't been able to attend any today yet, but one of the benefits is you can go back and rewatch them. So I've got a bunch of bookmark to do later today and tomorrow.
You're much better than me. I haven't even attempted it. So
yeah, and see, and this is where I wanted to go, because while there is a lot of talk, on social media of those attending, we'll see everybody back in Vegas next year. Can't wait to get back in person.
Sure hope so.
Like, but is this the future of conferences? And not just our industry conference, like just about every conference has either been outright canceled or some kind of virtual conference. And even leading up to 2020, we saw a few vendors start up virtual conferences. So is this the future? And maybe not the complete version of the future, but like I'm actually quite fearful that this is the future. Because I mean, think about it. Like you and I talk about it all the time. What has been the value of Summit the last several years? It's not necessarily been the breakout sessions. Yes, it's great to go to some of those. It's not the keynotes. It's nothing like that. It's the camaraderie. It's become for our team specifically, the time that we all get together in one place at the same time.
Yep.
and we can actually spend some time in person. It's time that it's one of those conferences that all, or the majority, if not all, of our clients are there, so we're able to schedule in-person time with them. And unfortunately, I have yet to experience the Summit suite that we
Oh yeah.
got the two previous years,
So fun.
because yeah, I was, or actually no,
Next year.
yeah, next year. So I wasn't, no, it was just, we got it the one year that I had to bail at the last minute.
Yeah.
And then we had it planned for last year, and Hila and I had all this stuff mapped out.
Mm,
And obviously, that didn't happen.
yeah.
So I haven't had a chance to experience that. But like the idea of just inviting clients and colleagues and folks up to there just to hang out and talk and get away from the hustle and bustle of
Yeah.
it. I'm going way all over the
Well,
place at the moment. But like to kind of bring it back and to get the conversation really going on it is I'm fearful that this is becoming the future of conferences. And I mean, we go to one a year. Maybe a couple of us will go to a second one. I know Hila's gone to one other one a year. We're not at every conference. We're not at every industry
right.
meetup.
Right.
But why I'm fearful of this is are we going to have some kind of hybrid going forward
Mhm.
where we it's shortened, it's abbreviated, the in-person stuff, and then stuff is put online. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts? I mean, what do you
Well,
think is going to happen?
I have lots of thoughts. My first thought is my hair is amazing today. So if you're not enjoying our video feed on YouTube, you should check it out for at least today's episode. I actually wash my hair. Um, but I think there's no doubt that we'll have some kind of a hybrid solution going forward. And the reason that I believe that to be the case is that lots and lots of companies have seen that this is an option for them to hold some kind of an event. Because doing events is incredibly difficult. And it's incredibly costly. Even small events in person are very difficult to coordinate and pull off, and the costs are quite high. Um, I've only been part of doing one event at a previous employer. We held an event in Atlanta, fairly intimate group. I think there were about 100 attendees, and it was extremely complicated to plan it, and it was very expensive to pull off. And I think that what companies have seen is not that we're going to decrease the complications, although I think we are, and especially if we start to see software vendors popping up directly to support this. I think a lot of companies have been kind of doing it on their own. In our space, I think the leader in building technology to pull off these type of events has probably been Observe Point, because they were doing these types of events prior to the pandemic and had a platform to do it very well. But if we see SaaS vendors coming out and starting to create software, and there's probably already stuff out there, but more accessible software to do virtual events, the costs are going to be considerably lower. The complexity is going to be considerably lower. And with most things in technology, the barrier to entry to doing an event is going to be considerably low. So what happens? We're
You have
everybody's going to do it. The market is going to be
Everybody's going to do
flooded.
it. It's going to cheapen it.
It's going to cheapen it, because they're not going to put in as much thought into it. And when I say that, it's a pretty broad statement. There will be a handful of people that do it really well, but most people will kind of half-ass it, and that's just how we do things. And you're going to have a very crowded, noisy marketplace with everybody hosting some kind of a conference, whether it's a half day or 1 day or 2 days. It's going to happen, and there's going to be the FOMO factor. So if our direct competitors are hosting conferences, it's like, wow, well, maybe 33.6 needs a virtual conference. And I think there's going to be a lot of that happening. And honestly, if we're not already there, I know I'm there, we're going to hit conference burnout fatigue really quickly. And so I just don't think that companies are going to get the return on what they think they're going to get from these virtual events. Now, That's not to say that there isn't value in doing it, but as with most things, we need to think about moderation and the fact that our goal to hold some kind of a virtual event shouldn't be because that's what our competitor is doing, so we just need to replicate it. If we're solving for a very specific need and we really, really are deliberate about how we plan that and pull it off, I think it can be incredibly valuable. But I personally don't want it to replace full-time in-person events. For me, there's something special about the in-person event. Number one, it's just being able to connect directly with people. And to your point, where um, as a company, we work remotely, both with each other as employees and with our clients. Having an event is an amazing opportunity for us to have that togetherness time in person. But also, there's something important about just having that as a focal point. And I made a point, even when Summit was here in Utah for so many years, I made a point to pack my travel bag and get a hotel room in Salt Lake and stay in Salt Lake. It's a 30-minute drive for me. Very easy for me to go back and forth. But I knew the minute I made that choice that I wouldn't be fully present at the conference. And just showing up to the sessions and then going home, that isn't attending a conference. And that's a lot like what we're doing virtually. We show up to a session and then we bail and go back to our work. We're not really fully present at the conference. And that is my biggest concern, much less the in-person piece, but more the ability to just be present. So, again, I made that deliberate choice to stay in Salt Lake and be fully present in the conference because it's everything that happens around the sessions where the real value is. It's like just the being there and the hanging out in the hotel lobby and talking with friends and people you haven't seen and talking shop. That to me is the value. And it's one of the reasons why I liked the very, very early days of Symphonic's Exchange Conference. I don't know if you ever attended any of those conferences.
No, I was never able to attend any of those.
Man, really well done. Hats off to Gary from Symphonic back in the day for putting that together because just really, really well done. And the ones I attended were at really great destinations, but destinations that didn't have a whole lot going on around it. So the most memorable one I attended was in Monterey. And you were in Monterey. You're in this small little fishing town on the coast of Central California. And you're just kind of there. And so everything that's happening is happening around that event. It's a little bit different for me for Summit in Vegas because there's a million things you can be doing in Vegas, right? So it's easy to it's like, oh, we're going to go over to this show, or we're going to go do this. When you're in like a little destination like Monterey, it's like you're just there. There's nowhere to escape to. And it kind of forces you to have that togetherness in a single location. And to me, that's really the beauty and the value of in-person conferences that I just don't believe that you can replicate virtually. And so, I'm all for having a hybrid where virtually you give people an opportunity that maybe otherwise wouldn't be able to attend an event from a knowledge gathering standpoint. For all means, let's continue to refine on that. But let's be honest with ourselves that the sessions are really an excuse to get people in a location. And it's everything else outside of the sessions that really is what is most valuable about the conferences that we attend.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like the getting together, like some of the memories that you create, and it's for us, I think it helps us deliver a great experience for our clients because we make it a point to, I know I do, is like any of like the ones I'm working with on a regular basis, just something as simple as like, let's go grab coffee for an hour and let's just bullshit, and just randomly talk, because that's where some of the best ideas come from. And then it's it helps you kind of set the path going forward.
Yeah.
It also helps you, being away, it helps you get out of the rut.
Sure.
This was always a milestone I set every year as almost like a bit of the backlog reset with clients. because the backlog starts to build. You get in this grind of just getting through various things. This gave you a chance to kind of wipe the backlog clean in some cases. Like, no, we really don't need that. No, we really don't need that. Let's add this to the backlog, new things. And then, of course, there's a level of excitement both from you and the client to get it done. And there's this renewed vigor.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I remember the most as well. And it's probably not a fair judgment because I'm horrible at attending sessions anyway. I can't remember the last conference that I went to where attending a session was my focal point. But with that said, the memories are really, again, everything other than the sessions. And I think back to just last summit a couple of years ago, the things I remember the most are sitting in the little restaurants in the Venetian meeting with our customers.
Yeah.
Like that was awesome. Like just that opportunity to sit down and just have a conversation. It's not that we were even talking shop. It's, we're just hanging out with each other and just enjoying each other's company. And it's really amazing. And additionally, one of the things that we had been doing specifically around Summit is we'd been getting all of our clients together in one room for a client dinner as kind of an appreciation, but an opportunity to introduce really great people to each other. And I was thinking about it. We have a new employee, Tony, and I was chatting with him yesterday, and I was talking to him a little bit about Todd over at the Monitor. He's like, wait a minute. Was he at your client dinner in 2018 or something? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I was there too. Cause Tony worked at a client of ours back at that time frame. He's like, I sat next to him, super cool guy. So like, like these things make a difference with people. And just, that little dinner, we think, just kind of getting together and having some good food and some laughs. But I think there's been some very real connections that we foster between our clients that still to this day are creating value. So like those things we're really, really missing out on right now.
It's those relationships that you build. Now, so what I just thought of is 6 years ago when you and I first started talking about me joining 33 Sticks, what was one of the first things we talked about? Oh, come on.
I don't know.
It involves sushi.
It involves sushi. You're the Hellfire Challenge thing?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know what, that's not the official name. Maybe that is.
Yeah, no, it was the Hellfire Sushi Challenge.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on. I have to look up the name of the restaurant there in Salt Lake. It goes back to 2011.
I think it's
10 years ago.
Was it Samurai Sushi? Hold on. I'm not going to look it up. Keep going.
That was Randy and I. And I remember this conversation, and I brought it up as a way to kind of break the ice and just bring some humor into it.
Kobe
Sushi. That's it. Yeah.
Kobe sushi.
And I brought it up, and he's like, "You were there for that? You said that. You said that to me." And I'm like, "I was the ringleader. I was the ringleader of that disaster."
That's one of the most amazing stories. And it was funny because when we did talk about it, I didn't know it was you, right? The first time we had that conversation, I'm like, dude, I got to tell you something. I was there. I was the guy. Like, I was pushing him to do this. That year, that you probably don't remember much else from that year other than the Hellfire Challenge, right? And then the people you were with and the memories you made around that. And
you got to tweet Randy. He's got the pictures of it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He's got pictures and everything.
I don't think I've ever seen pictures.
Oh, yeah. Tweet Randy. Tell him we're talking about it live on the podcast right now, and see if he's got pictures readily available.
Okay. During my typing while I tweet Randy live here.
Yeah, good 10 years ago. And I tell people like that it was a crazy story and was the dumbest idea I ever had.
But what a memory, right?
But right, like, and this is the kind of stuff that I'm worried about that people are going to miss out on. Yeah. Because even if it's not fully virtual, if it's a bit hybrid, you put it perfectly. The breakout sessions are the reason for people to get together. And if the breakout sessions are in person, you need 3 to 4 days of time to be able to host them. And my fear is if we go to like a hybrid of partially in person, partially remote, you'll have the keynote, you'll have a few breakout sessions, but then that shortens it to a day and a half.
Yeah.
Right. So then, like, I mean, this funny story with Randy and I and a few others we were working with at the time. I mean, this was like one of this was going out to dinner one night, and believe it or not, our at the time, I think they were still calling them Omniture. I think it was the Omniture business unit of Adobe.
Mhm.
Our account rep went with us.
Mm.
Yeah, he was there for this debacle as
That's
well.
awesome.
And it's these funny events, these funny stories, that it helps you build relationships within within the space.
Yeah. No, for sure, and that's my biggest thing that Ben Gaines and I were having dinner last week. Speaking of sushi, so Ben and I scheduled a dinner almost to the day 2 weeks after my last vaccination shot. Actually, my first. I did Johnson and Johnson, where both of us were fully vaccinated. And so we scheduled a celebratory dinner. And I'm totally going off track here. But it had been over a year since either of us had sat in our favorite sushi restaurant here in Salt Lake City. And so we scheduled the dinner. We ate way too much fish. But one of the things we were talking about was Adobe Summit. We knew it was coming up this week. And I said, man, if it's not in person next year, I'm just going to freak out. And then I said, you know what? It doesn't matter. We're doing it anyway. And I think that was kind of the conclusion that we came to, is that while it's nice that we have kind of this excuse, especially where we have clients, where you have to figure out travel and all of that, it makes it much, much harder. But on a smaller scale, I'm like, you know what? If it's not in person next year, we're going to Vegas anyway. We're going to do our own like Vegas Summit get together, because it isn't about the sessions, right? It's about us just being in some location together and making memories together. And so Ben and I like fist bumped on him, like, we'll be in Vegas next year, whether there's an official summit or not, we're going to be there.
Nice.
So,
I like that.
I think we need to do that more. I think we need to, especially as businesses are going to go more and more remote. We absolutely, we absolutely need to think about this, because as pro remote as we are, as much as we love the freedom and flexibility that brings, we really do miss being together as friends and colleagues. And it's going to have to be, and I know this is a little bit off topic from what we're chatting about today, but it's going to have to be something that businesses take very seriously and deliberately put in place a plan for how do we capture this physical togetherness that is so incredibly important if we embrace the remote model and everyone is spread out all over the place. For a small company like us, I think it's a lot easier to pull off. For a big company, man, that's going to be some serious challenges to overcome. But I hope that they're thinking about it now, because again, as much as of a proponent of remote as we are, I also fully recognize the importance of being together in person. There's something that you just simply can't replicate virtually. And as a company, we've taken for granted that we've had that Adobe Summit as our excuse, but going forward, we can't use that as an excuse anymore. I think we need to be smarter about saying, and you and I have talked about it, and I think we mentioned, as long as things are trending the way they are right now with the pandemic, I would really love for us to get together as a team this year. We're not waiting for next year for Adobe Summit. Like, it's just been too long that we've been together as a team, and that togetherness is really critical to the overall health of the organization and us individually as employees and team members.
Yeah, it's all about the experience, right?
Yeah.
It's the the nuts and bolts of work. They're going to get done. It's about those experiences, those memorable experiences that you have.
Yeah.
And that's what, and you brought up the client dinner. Like, I mean, how many clients have just, that's one of the things that sticks out that we've, as far as an experience that we've created for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. So I'm looking forward to like taking a bit more control of that and making that happen again. By the way, Randy says that he isn't holding out, that he's posted those photos several times over the years. So
Okay, yeah, I
I'm,
just saw the thread.
I'm telling him to
Unfortunately, I need to save them this time because I
yeah,
don't have them.
yeah, I do as well. And maybe I have seen them, but I can't place them. So
Hmm.
looking forward to that. But yeah, man, just we miss it, and I think the pandemic has given us an opportunity to really evaluate how important that togetherness time is. And back to your question again, I think we will see even more in the coming years. Conferences being remote and virtual, I think less by the big players that have done them more in person, but more by everybody else that has seen this as their opportunity to get into the event space. And I think we'll have a very, very crowded marketplace. I think as attendees, we need to be very meticulous in which ones we choose to attend. Because I think there can be a very negative backlash of just trying to do too many of these. And we also just have to be realistic that it is what it is. We shouldn't try to make it feel like a conference. We should be a bit more judicious and say, I'm going to pick a couple sessions because I really want to learn about these topics and do that. But trying to replicate the in person and being there full time, it's near impossible to try to pull that off. And I think it sets probably unrealistic expectations for your experience around that. And ultimately, I hope that the bigger players that have traditionally held in person conferences will have a strong desire to go back to doing so. And I'm completely fine with them supplementing that as remote. In fact, it's kind of been like that before. If you think back to Adobe Summits in years past, it seems like a month or so after the conference ended, they opened it up as kind of an on demand, so you could go and get the sessions on demand afterwards. So we
Hmm.
kind of almost had that hybrid model before, where it's like, let's have an in person, and then after the fact, let's release the content and make it available virtually on demand. And I'm completely cool with that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that would be. I think that's a good way to meet it in the middle, but give a reason for everyone to go out. Go out and meet up in person.
Yeah, yeah. So I am super, super looking forward to it, and I think it's going to happen. If even if vendors don't want to do it, people are pushing. Like we miss that, and I think that there's going to be a strong push from from people to make that happen again. And so
Hmm.
I think we'll definitely start seeing it open up again next year. Although I've already seen a few tweets and pictures of conferences that already have been happening in person, although limited in attendance and kind of some different setups. I've seen several people I follow on Twitter that have been at in-person conferences already in the past month
Oh,
or so.
nice. Okay. Well, that's a
So
good sign then.
yeah, so I think it definitely is happening. It's just like most things, is going to take a little bit of time to restart the engine and kind of get it going again. But I'm
Yeah.
hopeful that it will happen soon.
Nice. Good. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up there. So
Yeah,
here's to Vegas next March.
Vegas
I know
next March.
it's normally in March, so Vegas next March, and hopefully some kind of company get together. This September.
Absolutely, that'd be amazing.
Yep. Cool.
All
All
right,
right. So I think that's a good spot to wrap up. And thank you much.
thanks for listening. Check
All
out
righty.
our YouTube feed.
Catch everybody later.
Bye.